and this isn't really what the clinic is about, but it's on the general topic of width of loads. If you look at that Caterpillar uh, bulldozer, I assume it is, I mean, it is exactly the width of that flat car, and that's not a coincidence. And that they don't build the thing and just hope it's the right width to ship. If things are too wide, uh, either the railroads can't handle them or they have to make them a special move that costs a lot more money. So from the very first moment of design, a place like Caterpillar or John Deere or the factory in my old hometown, Bucyrus Erie, they design with the width of flat cars in mind. But some things are too wide or have to be too wide. So in part, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Now, here is an example of a load which is both heavy, so they might have had idler cars on either end of it. It's far too tall for a lot of railroads, so this would be the routing of this car would have to be thought through very carefully, using a lot of information about maximum height. And I suspect, but don't know, that it might also be beyond normal width, and therefore might also call for special and more expensive handling. You don't get a flat car like this um, without expecting to pay a lot for your shipping costs, because you have so few alternative ways to send such a load. Note, however, that it fits neatly, the base of this thing fits neatly on the width of the supplied flat car. So this is all part of the original design right from the get-go when they're making loads like this. This is uh, was photographed in the yard at Galesburg, Illinois, BNSF yard. So here we see a load of what I assume to be GI Case and perhaps Holland tractors on the Chicago, pardon me, on the CP former Milwaukee Road on Milwaukee's south side. Note that the tires are almost exactly the width of those flat cars, but then also note the tire closest to the photographer. It looks like it actually is intended to be a second tire. I mean, to handle a second wheel, a second tire. And so obviously they did not ship those with these tractors because it would have been too wide. We'll see some other examples of that coming up. I think this is at Brighton Park in Chicago area. And you can see here that as part of the flat car holding these Deere tractors, there is a set of tires also being shipped at the same time. And they look really nice, and like they might gloss them up to make them look nice for the recipient of the load. But here's how they'd be braced. They're on pallets. They're chained to the deck, and what looks like heavy cardboard protects the rubber of the tire from the chain.
Dave,
yes.
I understand that all of these tractors are export tractors, and they're not going to the US. They are headed toward Europe.
That would explain the pallets. Close up, same picture, just cropped. Here's a John Deere implement. And as you can see, the front tires are missing, and they're on the far end of the flat car. I suspect if the tires had been mounted to the vehicle, they might have made it excessive width. Clearly, they would have preferred all the tires to be on the vehicle for ease of loading and unloading. But if it creates a width issue, you do this. Actually, this is the same car, the same load. I just took a second picture and I cropped it so you could see once again what the front of that farm implement of some kind is with the tires in the back. You can also see that the end of the axles basically come to the side of the flat car. So yeah, I think this would have been an excessive width load had the tires been included. Again, this is in Galesburg, near
Did
the
you notice
Amtrak.
on the right is the head for that combine?
Yeah. So those cars would have been shipped together, probably under a waybill that would have linked the two cars together for waybill purposes. I'm not sure I know what this vehicle is that occupies the center of the picture, but it has an exceptionally wide uh, end of the axle on it, and might have either been double tires or very big tires. The tires aren't part of the load, but they're probably, they might be behind the photographer. Again, it looks like it's um, part of a common load. This is also in Galesburg. Here's a monster load, and it has no wheels on it whatsoever. In fact, even the drivetrain or the axles are gone because they would have created an excessively wide load. This isn't the same car, but I think it's the same product or a similar one. And you can see mounted on the flat cars what I take to be the wheels for the tires to be mounted on. You see a lot of interesting loads in the yard at Galesburg because Peoria is just 50 miles away. And this is the way a Caterpillar load, and I think there's also a Komatsu factory there, would get to the BNSF. Once again, more than just the tires are missing from this vehicle. You can see where where everything would be mounted here and there, and it's shipped separately. More Deere loads, but here the tires are part of the load, and you can see there's the wheel where you'd mount the wheel, and the tires are part of the same car. Oops, I didn't mean to jump ahead. Now this is in Rochelle, so this is the Union Pacific in Rochelle. These tractors are complete, but if you look at the far end, those tractors seem to have that secondary wheel mount, and the tires are stacked up vertically because to put them on the wheel mounts would have created an excessive width load. Now there's a cropped version of the same picture, so you can see what I'm talking about. There's the stacked up tires. Again, they're chained to the deck, and it looks like blocks of wood are protecting the tire from the effects of the chain. Back to Galesburg, obviously a very large Caterpillar vehicle, but this one would have been so large that it's being shipped without the drivetrain and the wheels, axles, and anything else. And here we are in Rochelle again with a Deere load where they've, that looks like it's supposed to have another tire mounted to it. Not that. So here's some tires on the same flat car. And as you can see, those two flat cars are on a pallet, and then above them there's another pallet with two more tires. And again, everything is chained down to the flat car with protection for the rubber of the tire from the chain. Close up just by cropping the same picture. And this is interesting, again in Rochelle, where tires were being shipped on kind of bare bones, almost like skeletonized containers for shipment. And those are real monsters there in the center of the car. But you can also see all the chains I've never taken another picture of anything like this in terms of ways of shipping large tires. It wouldn't be a very heavy load. I'm sure that flat car could handle much more weight than would be represented by this load. But if if you filled up the car with the load, there's not much more you can do.
Those are some big wire ties.
It's also part of a stack train, and usually those are all intermodal. So this must have been regarded as some form of intermodal with those skeletonized, not really containers because there's no sides and no roof, and the load is bigger than the ends.
That's going overseas.
You can see a number there. It doesn't look like anything could be stacked on top of them. And just to return to what we started talking about, again, this is at Galesburg. Back in the days when they had equipment displays for railroad days in June, so you can see the Nebraska Zephyr there and some museum passenger car behind it. But that's again a Caterpillar load where the tires on the loader are exactly as wide as the flat car. And again, that's not coincidence or luck. That's how it's designed right from the beginning of the draftsman's first sketches. So that was going to be the original clinic. Now we go on to the overall topic of excessive width loads. And if these panel switches had been mounted flat on a flat car, they would have clearly been excessive width and difficult to ship. So they just put them in gondolas instead and have them lean, but not so much so that they violate the loading gauge or the width guidelines that railroads operate under. Same idea, different location, but again, a panel track switch, which is they're mounted in gondolas and they lean, but they don't exceed the width restrictions. Now, a place like the Bucyrus Erie factory in South Milwaukee gets enormous shipments of sheet steel. And this was their holding yard for that steel. And you would see some really remarkable examples of steel making. Here, for example, I believe this is a 6-inch piece of steel, and that's not the thickest that they get. These are all 6-inch, and this I think is 9 inches over here. But that's talking about weight. They also get a lot of steel that exceeds the maximum width and can't be shipped in a normal flat car. Now here is a shipment of steel, which it exceeds the width of the flat car, but it must not exceed the loading gauge or maximum width requirements of the railroad. So that might be about as wide as you can go. And when you think about some of these very large tank cars, they're as wide as a flat car or a box car at the bottom, but the maximum width of the tank on the tank car might be about as wide as you see here with these sheets of steel. But what Bucyrus Erie does when they get these really large pieces of steel is they come in gondolas, which I assume this bracing is a permanent part of the car. They're in dedicated service, probably marked to be returned to a certain source. And so it's on the diagonal, but again, it doesn't exceed the width of the car. These are some of the biggest I ever saw. This is Galesburg. These are not Bucyrus Erie loads, but these gondolas had considerable shipments of steel that must have been much wider than a freight car would be able to handle if they were shipped flat. I'm sure they would prefer to ship them flat, probably easier to load and unload. But this is what you do if you got to do it. A little closer look at what these braces, I guess you could call them, for diagonal loads look like. This is also in Galesburg, possibly heading to the Caterpillar or Komatsu plants. And a little close up of the structural steel that holds the steel at a sheet steel at a diagonal angle. So here is a very early photograph at the Bucyrus-Erie factory. And so this might be from the 1920s or 30s. And obviously, you don't just put that on a flat car. It would be too tall, too wide. But if you look carefully, you can see how, can you see my cursor? How these things were designed, even back then, to be, once they assembled them to make sure they all fit, then they would disassemble them and ship them as a number of sub-assemblies to be put together at the ultimate destination. That's why some of these shovels and drag lines that the Bucyrus-Erie company would make would account for hundreds of flat car loads or gondola loads.
You know what that thing is?
I assume that that is the base to a large rotating um, either shovel, drag line, or Bucyrus-Erie also made dredging dredgers that were actually, in water. But you can see it's a gear, and I would assume, and a central axle. So I would assume something rotated on this, and
I forgot if it was a horizontal lathe.
it might have been one of their walking drag lines.
Mm.
So here is a drawing of one of their more recent products, also a walking drag line, an 8750. And if I looked harder, I could have figured out what an 8750 actually is. But that's just the base. That's just the frame. And they call it a revolving frame, 133 feet and 9 inches long, and 95 feet 1 inch wide. But the key point here is that it's shipped in 26 major sections. So if you look at this single piece here, about 58 inches long, this isn't exactly from the same machine, but a similar type of machine. So that's how it would look as a flat car load. And that's how you would have to ship something like that, to break it up into its component parts. So this coming weekend, I will be down in Galesburg for Railroad Days. They no longer have equipment displays, but it's really a tremendous place to have access to the yard, photographic access to the yard and to the main lines. There's Amtrak action, but there's also a lot of action all the time. You've got basically the two original railroads, the CB&Q, later Burlington Northern, and the Santa Fe are now combined, of course. And in some ways, they're almost run as separate railroads. But there's a lot of wonderful opportunities to safely and legally park your car and take great pictures. The people in Galesburg, as you can see from this, are really friendly. And Galesburg is a real easy city to drive around in with very clear traffic signals. So I don't know if anyone in this group is going to be making the trek to Galesburg this coming weekend or not. Railroad Days has lost a lot of its glamour once they stopped having equipment displays. But there's a decent model train show. I can't think of a single thing I need to buy, but I'll probably be there. And I'll probably be taking more pictures that will sooner or later will end up on these Thursday night Zunes. So yeah, real easy to get around. And I think it's come time to stop.
Look at that, with the yellow sign and everything.
And this is a very old picture from 1955.
Wow.
And it's cropped. The guy was not taking a railroad crossing picture. He was taking a picture of a large Milwaukee Road 484, and I just happened to crop it to show this separately. So that's all I have for you.
Well, thank you, David. That was very good. Anybody else got anything they want to show us tonight?
Mm-mm.
All right.
It looks like Jeff would like to play a guitar solo.
Sure, there we go.
Where's Lester?
Did you get
Oh.
the switch put in?
I put a switch in it.
Okay.
Makes it so much easier.
Very good.
Hopefully not as many drill bits broken.
Right.
Those little high-speed ones are so brittle.
Yes,
They-
they are.
They just shatter.
Yeah.
I understand. Yep, I understand.
Oh, man. And I also am getting some, I saw on Facebook, and I found them on Amazon, some titanium toothpicks, okay, that I'm going to use to make a dimple where I'm going to drill my hole
Sure.
and push it in a little further. The scribe I have has too big of a tip. So they were like 5 of them for $7. So we'll see how Russian titanium works.
What is the intended use of a titanium toothpick?
To pick your teeth.
Really?
Yes, they're retractable.
Okay.
I'm going to build a presentation on this.
Sounds good.
I'm a tool guy, so I like tools, and the idea of the needing. Well, I was doing all these Walthers. My God, I've got so many of them. I got 50 of them, I think. B60B baggage cars, and they all have to have handrails put in. There's already a dimple in them, okay, but I shake enough that the drill bit wanders. By the time I turn the thing on and bring it down low and get it in the hole, it doesn't work. So
Yeah.
I put a switch on this thing, and I have found that I can do the dimple better, but I want to make the dimple a little bit deeper.
Mhm.
And the taper on that toothpick is such that it'll allow me to go in without spreading the plastic too wide
Right.
and distorting it.
Well, I would think using a metal toothpick would be like putting aluminum foil in your mouth. You know what?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
God.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to
I'm
be
gonna-
chewing on that toothpick.
No,
I'm
it's
gonna,
like
uh,
something hang out in the corner of your mouth, you know?
I'm going to be looking for a titanium dental floss.
There you
Yeah.
go.
There you go.
There is,
That might be reusable at least.
if you look on Amazon, there is a titanium dental kit that has a dental floss holder that's made out of titanium. So go figure.
Yeah.
So do you take it out of the little plastic container and rewind it into the titanium one or what?
I don't know. I haven't bought it.
I'm sure there's a YouTube video to explain all of that.
There is. And by the way, speaking of YouTube, who was talking about Tom Zurich's layout?
Probably Ron.
I think Ron was.
I said something about it.
Okay, on YouTube, if you listen to what I'm saying, it says Tom's with an S, Tom's HO layout introduction, Elkhart, Indiana. Tom's HO layout introduction. If you type that in, you'll find his layout.
Yeah, it's big.
It is huge, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah, it's good size, that's for sure.
Hey, Greg, I think I found a new thing on this iPad.
Yeah,
And we've been talking about chip and oil, tar and chip roofs.
yeah,
Let's see if what happens when I do this.
okay.
Can anybody see that?
Yeah, it's
Yep.
upside down, but.
Upside
we can
down.
see it.
Oh, it's upside down? I
Yep.
don't know how to handle that. You'll just have to look at it upside down.
I ain't standing on my head.
There's one thing about this iPad, all I can do is touch, it's got a zoom thing, touch that, then one more thing and it's there. I mean, it really
Okay.
works slick.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about
Turn your
this
iPad
tar.
upside down.
Yeah, let's talk about the tar and chip. Forget about the upside down. I'm not sure if you think it's too, the grains are too large or not.
Sometimes you have to exaggerate a little bit. I think it looks fine.
So do I. I think it looks okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm done, I'm not sure that I like it or not like it, but anyway, I think I'm done with it. I still have some more work to do on the elevator, but Clark was indicating he thought the gray was a little too dark. And I don't disagree with him. What I found is this special paint, which I'd never seen before, the chalk paint. And that was the absolute lightest they had. If you have a different lighting, it looks a lot lighter. If you look at the bottom of the tower, that you see it's quite a bit lighter than up at the top where the shadow is. But concrete can be quite white.
Yeah. What is tar and chip, please?
Pardon me?
What is tar and chip?
Well, they put tar on top of the concrete, then they put a gravel on there to keep it from, they get hail and stuff like that. It protects the
Sure.
tar.
It's fine rock a lot of times. And let me
Yeah.
tell you, it's a real pain. I actually had a cabin with that type of roof done. My father-in-law built it, and it's a real pain to maintain because you got rocks coming off the roof, continual process.
I don't think you'll find it much anymore because now they use the rubber membrane roof now instead of tar and chip, but
Yep.
Okay, what is the type of roof that, honest to God, it looks like, it looks like, it was squirted out of a toothpaste tube and it's black and it's all squiggly stuff and there's tar over it.
probably just tar.
Okay, I thought it was more like a rubber.
Could
I
be.
don't know, I'm asking, that's why I don't know. I had a photo job one time where I had to climb up on a roof and this stuff was all over, and as I walked on it, I realized I was sinking in a little bit. Because it was so soft, and then it was a real pain to clean up. But I didn't know what it was.
Now, the only thing I don't know is how to get rid of this. Maybe I get rid of it when let's see. Oh, maybe I got rid of it.
Nope.
Is it gone?
No,
No,
We're going to be looking at this forever.
it's
Okay,
gonna burn in
goodbye,
the
everybody.
screen.
I'll have to leave you.
Reboot.
I can't even get rid of it. Let's see here. There we go. I got you.
Now I know how to take care of the Zoom.
O'Malley wants to say hi to everybody.
Yeah, the dog.
All right, so next week is the 4th of July. We will be off. The week after that, I will be in Massachusetts. So we'll be off for 2 weeks. When we come back, Doug Harding has a presentation for us. But
Very good.
yeah, so we'll be off for 2 weeks. And
and then the week after that'll be RPM.
okay, I was wondering if it was that week or the week after. But yeah, we'll take that week off too, because I'll be in Collinsville.
Same here.
Along with a lot of our group here. So that'll be fun. But anyway, have a safe and enjoyable 4th of July, and we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Good night.
Yeah.